basically you want to know whether you should quit what you're doing, if you should keep doing it, if you should move on to something new. That's okay. Like that's not a bad thing to be questioning. Most people think that when you start something, you have to keep grinding and pushing towards it. But one of the most smartest and useful skills you could acquire is knowing when to quit. Knowing when to quit is a smart skill because it prevents you from wasting time, and it also gives you an opportunity to start something that might be 10 times more fulfilling than what you're doing right now. So don't think it's a bad thing to be questioning whether you should quit something. I'm gonna just give you a few signs that you should quit whatever you're doing and you should start down a new pathway or a new journey. So one of the first signs that you should quit whatever you're doing is you feel like you're wasting your time. Like you feel like what you're doing isn't valuable, and you also feel like you have no time. Like you feel like you're out of time all the time. You feel like you're wasting your time. You could be doing something more valuable. You feel like you're wasting your time. What you're doing should feel fulfilling. Like it shouldn't feel like you're wasting your time with whatever you're doing. So if you feel like you're wasting time, that's one of the first signs that you should quit whatever you're doing. One of the first ways you could actually know if you're wasting your time with what you're doing is by asking yourself, if I wasn't currently involved, or if I didn't currently have this opportunity, what would I be willing to do to obtain it? And if you wouldn't do that much to obtain that thing, then it's not that valuable and you're wasting your time. If you didn't currently have that thing, like think to yourself, really, what would you be willing to do to get it? Like, would you push like with all your might to get that? Or would you not really care? Like when you're already involved in something, it's hard to really process and think like what you would do without it, and if you would truly want it if you didn't have it. But when you're already involved in it, it's hard to really think what life is like without it. So you got to picture what life would be like without it and ask yourself, what would I be willing to do to get this if I didn't already have it? And also admitting that you chose the wrong path, that shows growth, that shows wisdom. That's not a bad thing. Most people think that's a bad thing, but admitting you're wrong shows growth, and it prevents you from wasting more of your time. One of the second signs you should quit whatever you're doing is you feel like something greater is calling you. If you're doing whatever you're doing and you start to feel like there's something else greater calling you, something that you feel would make a higher contribution to not only you but the world, or to your family, or to whatever. If you feel like there's something that is a higher calling to you and you feel would fulfill your life way more than what you're doing, then that's a big sign that you should second guess what you're currently doing and really evaluate what you want in life. If you feel like something is a higher calling, like thinking about it gets you really excited, motivated, maybe you should take action. Maybe you should take action in that thing and drop whatever you're doing right now and take action in that instead, and stop wasting your time with what you're doing. Good question to ask yourself with this one. Ask yourself, like that thing that you think is a greater contribution, I want you to ask yourself, if you were guaranteed success in that thing, would you drop what you're doing right now and do that instead? Ask yourself that. If you were guaranteed success in that other thing, would you drop what you're doing right now and do that other thing? If you say yes, then you should just take action. Drop what you're doing and do that instead. So yeah, though, that's one of the second signs that you should quit what you're doing. Another sign that you should quit whatever you're doing, and this is also a big one, is whatever you're doing no longer feels fulfilling. It no longer feels fulfilling, and it feels like it's draining all of your energy. If you feel drained every time you finish your work or whatever your passion is, that's not a good sign. You shouldn't feel drained every time. There should be some challenge to your work, but if you feel drained of energy for the whole rest of the day, the whole week, that's not good. That means that whatever you're doing is not fulfilling your spirit, it's not fulfilling your life, and it's detrimental to you, your health, and your success. Like, it shouldn't drain your energy. If you feel drained every time you do it, that's not a good sign. Also, if your accomplishments feel like they no longer have meaning, like, you know, when you first start something and you're accomplishing stuff and you feel excited and happy and like grateful for those accomplishments, I mean, there is going to be some sense of drop off because you're going to get used to certain things over time. But if you don't even get excited at the big accomplishments anymore in that area that you're working in or that your passion's in, that's not a good sign. And also, if you can't picture yourself doing it in the long run, that's not a good sign either. That's a huge sign. Like, if you can't picture yourself doing it 10 years from now, why are you doing it right now? Like, fuck, if you can't picture yourself doing it 10 years from now, why are you still doing it now? Like, you're wasting your time. If you don't get any more enjoyment out of it too, like, not every day is gonna be enjoyable, but if you get zero enjoyment out of what you're doing anymore, that's not a good sign. And that means you're no longer fulfilled in what you're doing. And that, like, another thing is, like, if you find yourself constantly thinking about other things, or you find yourself like looking forward to it to be over while you're doing whatever your passion or your work is, that's a big sign that maybe you should reevaluate your life and your path in life too. Yeah, that was just 3 signs that you should quit whatever you're doing. That your work no longer feels fulfilling, you feel like something greater is calling you, and you feel like you're wasting your time. So if you got any of those or all 3 of those, just take the time and really like ask yourself those couple questions I told you. Take your time, question yourself, evaluate your life, and just really think about what you want from life, because life is too short. You don't want to waste it, and you want to be fulfilled. So yeah, hope you take this advice.